I am submitted to my husband. Do whatever he says and, not even have my own thoughts or my own opinions or, share my feelings or anything. Good morning and welcome to my channel. My name is Cynthia Sierra and this is Faithful Mama Life. Today we're going to be doing a couple of things. I will be on camera speaking to you, but I'm also going to be doing a little bit of homemaking. Honestly, I have tried to make this video several times and life just gets in the way, so we're going to go ahead and do it while I am doing some of my homemaking things. We're going to be talking about traditional wife and modern wife. This is something that I have personally struggled with. I am always thinking that I don't measure up to the traditional wife, so stay tuned. So as I was looking online, I was seeing that traditional wife was something that a lot of people were playing up on. It was a term that many women kind of like almost idolized, and it was something that like you wanted to reach, right? And so I was looking, and it said that it was a person who is typically a homemaker and a caregiver. Now, if you guys have been following me, if you guys have been following along with me, you will know that I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Florida and Alabama, and I worked like my whole marriage. I've always worked. I haven't had any other choice, and I enjoyed my job and I enjoyed my career. I know that at the age of 2, my son had to go into daycare because my mother-in-law could no longer take care of him, and that's the first time that I really felt like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to be at home with my son. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it because our budget didn't allow us to, and we had other things that we needed to pay, and just at that time of my life, I just was not able to do it, like physically and financially. Hold on, looking a little rough. There we go. Now I have a headband. I feel like I'm a little bit more to put together, but so we weren't able to do it. My son was 2, and at that time I prayed, Lord, allow me to be able to just one day be able to stay at home with my child. I want to be the one to raise him up. I want to be the one to teach him all these different things. I want to be there when he starts doing all his little milestones. It was something that I definitely wanted to do. Fast forward to 2022, when my husband graduated, we were able to move over to Alabama, and I will tell you, it was a godsend going to Alabama, coming here, because if I were still in Florida, I would have had to work. Like, there was just no way I would have had to work. But because we're in Alabama and the cost of living is so much cheaper, now I am able to be a stay-at-home mom, which is awesome. And people are like, oh my gosh, why are you doing it? Your son is like 11, 12 years old. There's no need. Guys, there's always a need. And when God allows you the privilege and the blessing to be able to stay at home, to be a homemaker, a stay-at-home wife, a stay-at-home mom, it is just an amazing thing. So trust me, I know both sides. I understand what it's like to be a working mom and feeling like there's no time in the world. Like, if you are just neglecting your kids, although you are trying your hardest to do the best for them. And I also am understanding the life that I get to live now as a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife or homemaker, however you want to call it, where now I not so much need to have somebody taking care of my child, but I can actually do it myself. And I was still a homemaker when I was working, but it was totally different, and I didn't have the time, and I just sometimes didn't even really have the energy, and it was just a lot for me. As some of you guys will know, if you guys are also working moms, it is so tough to like do job outside of the house and job inside of the house. I get you. I've been there. It's no joke. But on the other hand, being a traditional wife, sometimes people think that you just stay at home. Like, you stay at home, you take care of your children, you do what you need to do, and then that's it. That is what society and that's what culture tells us that we're supposed to be doing, right? There are many other religious groups or just other people in general, other people with different mindsets that they're like, the woman does not need to have a job. That is not her role. That is not what God told her to do. And they feel that you just need to be staying at home, you don't care about a career or being successful or anything. You need to be submissive to your husband, and you need to be quiet, and you need to take care of your children and take care of your house. With that also comes the idea of being obedient and also being devoted to your husband. That is what a traditional housewife mentality is supposed to be like. A lot of times they have conservative views on things. So of course they tend to be, very religious, pro-life. A lot of them don't believe in birth control. Many of them want to have several kids, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that is, that's something that they pride themselves with. And I am not one to judge. I've known very, very early that I did not want to have 2 or 3 or 4 kids. I asked God for one, and He gave me the one, and I'm very happy and content. And so that's also kind of where the idea, my own personal feeling of, am I really being a traditional wife? Because I only had the one, and I did make another video on it, how I felt guilty because I only had one child. And am I allowed to complain? Am I allowed to feel a certain way? Am I allowed to be burnt out and exhausted and because I have one kid, while other people have all these kids and they have the minivan and Oreo. Sorry guys. Legit doing the homeschooling thing where I am doing school at home, which is different than homeschooling. Someone told me that. I don't remember who it was, but I am doing school at home, which means I'm not personally teaching my child, because he does have a curriculum through the Abeka program, but I am still there to supervise if he needed anything or grade his homework and submit it into Abeka. But all these moms have all these things that they're doing. They're like super mom, seriously, and I did not feel like I was that. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how many things I did, no matter how many check-offs I was doing on my to-do list, I really didn't feel that's what I was doing. I didn't feel I measured up. A lot of them have conservative views. I do have conservative views. I am conservative to the most part, but God doesn't really talk about being conservative or being liberal. And that's something that our culture, especially in religious circles, have really been pushing, oh, I'm conservative, or oh, I'm liberal. God did give us a set of rules, the 10 Commandments, and He did believe in, in order and doctrine and being obedient to Him. And so I feel like instead of labeling myself liberal or conservative, lately, I've been using the word balanced. I am a balanced Christian, which means that I know that there are things that just are not for me. They don't fill me in any way, but they do fill someone else. So I don't necessarily have to agree with everything. I mean, I'm not God, so. And then, of course, as I was looking up traditional wife, I was also looking up modern wife. And this one was pretty interesting. It says that the modern wife is seen as independent and empowered. She pursues her own interests while contributing with a job, which what we talked about before. Usually a modern woman is the one that has a job along with her husband, but that she's seen independent and empowered. So I'm kind of wondering, does that mean that a traditional wife is not independent? Does she have to be kind of going to her husband for everything she needs, for every single decision? Is she not able to have a voice or make her own decisions? Of course, she's going to be looking at the benefit or the best for the family in general, but it said that the modern woman is independent and she's able to have a job, which, by the way, I know that there are many women that are traditional wives, traditional homemakers, and they still have a job. They have a stay-at-home job now. There's so many things that you can do online. A lot of them have their little boutiques, their little side gigs, and that's totally fine. So the idea of a traditional wife not having a job or not being able to, do things or be independent. I don't want to say it seems to be going down because I don't have any statistics and I don't want to bore you with statistics, but I think that there is so much more opportunity after COVID, which nobody liked COVID, but it was a blessing for ministry because now we can share online so much more. People are more open to receiving religious content online, and there's so many other opportunities for people to work online, especially these stay-at-home moms that are still wanting to make their couple bucks so that they can go out shopping or they can kind of have their own money. Also, another thing is a modern wife it said they seem to be more outspoken. They seem to be more outspoken and vocal about their rights. And so I know that the feminist movement came out a while ago, but we still have people that are really, really pushing feminism. I am all about feminist rights. I am all about women being treated equally in the workplace and etc. But God did create men and women differently. We can do all things, but there are some things that men excel better, more. They are more naturally inclined to do better at than women. Just like there are things that women are better equipped to do than men. Does that mean that one is worse off than the other? No. I am equal to my husband. I don't believe I am underneath him. I'm right beside him. That's how God created it. Going back to the submissive thing, I am submitted to my husband because my husband is submitted to the Lord. Now, if my husband was not submitted to the Lord, I would still respect him, but whenever his ideas or his thoughts would conflict with God's thoughts or his plans for me, that's kind of where we would draw the line. But absolutely, I am submitted to my husband. And sometimes we feel that being submitted is a bad thing when actually it's not, right? Like we want to, like for me, I want to be protected by my husband, right? I don't want to marry a weak man. I don't want to marry a lazy man. I don't want to marry a man that doesn't defend me, that doesn't really care about me. But I do look for a masculine man. I look for a man that is hardworking. I look for a man that loves the Lord, so that if I'm under his wings, like if we have a home together, I know that he has my best interest in mind and he has our family's best interest in mind. And the most important thing is that I know that he's aligned with God. As a matter of fact, I do have my Bible here, so let me get it. It is found in Ephesians 5:22-25. So let's see how much we're going to read. And this is the chapter on wives and husbands and things like that. It's like probably the most quoted and the most misunderstood. It says, "Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands," verse 25, "love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." I love my husband and I submit myself to him. He loves me and he respects me just like Christ loved the church. And that's what some people don't understand. Back to the modern woman, the other thing that I heard was that they have a greater sense of autonomy over their life. Again, going back to the idea that my husband knows what's best for me and he kind of makes all the decisions for me is definitely not accurate for me anyway. And some wives that really feel that their husbands are making decisions for them and they feel comfortable with that, hey, if you are at peace with that and you feel like that is what God is calling you to do, that's perfectly fine. Like, so two interesting perspectives on being a wife, very, very different. So that's why in the beginning of the video I said, do you have to be one? Do you have to be the other? Or can you be both of them? And obviously by my talking in the video, you know that I am both of them. I can still have a job. I am still autonomous. I do still, I do submit to my husband and I do things like I'm multifaceted, yes, like a modern wife, but I also do my homemaking and I do my caregiving, and yes, you can do that when you're working as well. That does not mean that you are not a homemaker or a traditional wife. I think, honestly speaking, our society puts so much weight on these terms, and like as long as you are feeding your family and you are putting God first, you and your husband, and you are doing the things in your house, then like you are following God's plan. Now, with that being said, my husband helps me do the laundry. He folds the laundry sometimes. Actually, fun fact, he washes the bathroom for me. More like he does so much. He does a better job than I do because I have really bad allergies, and so he knows that I can't do it very well. So like he does that for me, and yes, I cook most of the time, but if I ask him to, like he would. And we share chores and homemaking. Like I'll vacuum and then he'll mop, or if he wakes up after me, he'll make the bed for me, or just little things like that. And so I don't see him being like well, I'm a man and I'm not supposed to be doing this. Wife should be doing that. You know, like that. He doesn't belittle me like that. And so that's where God's true plan comes into play, where you and your spouse are a team and you're actually like working together. Back to the idea of me feeling like I wasn't a traditional wife, because I felt that maybe I was a little bit too modernized. Maybe I'm not supposed to be like, when my husband says something that I kind of don't agree with, maybe I'm not supposed to like talk back to him, which it's not in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, maybe I'm not supposed to make my opinion known. Or, you know, I see all these other videos where the women are just, they have these long to-do lists and they are doing laundry and they're baking sourdough bread and they are doing their own bone broth and they are just like, they put the apron on and they look so beautiful while they're doing it. And I low-key kind of was like, okay, am I not doing my part? Like, do I have to be making sourdough? Like, do I have to be making my bone broth? Do I have to be making like all these things from scratch? And like, am I not being the homemaker that I'm supposed to be? They have these homesteads, and don't get me wrong, I do want to have a homestead, because just from a spiritual standpoint, this world is getting really, really bad. I mean, it's been bad for years, but I just really feel like I want to give my son and I want to give us like the best opportunity possible to have the cleanest life, meaning like really, really fresh air. And I think we stepped up because we moved from Florida here, but all these things in the videos that, you know, these women would do, and I was really trying to measure myself up to them. And I'm like, either there's something wrong with them or there's something wrong with my thinking. Now, I'm not saying that they are bad, that they're wrong, that they shouldn't. Again, if you feel a conviction for you to make your own sourdough bread, by all means, go for it. But I really was measuring myself up to these things. And finally, God just spoke to me and he was like, you know, you are being a traditional wife, like, because you are tending to your husband, tending to your kids, and you are seeking me first. Like, that's what he calls us to do. The other thing that really validated it for me that I thought was really, really sweet was that my husband, actually, I was going through something in my mind and I was like, babe, do you think I'm a traditional wife? He was like, yeah. I'm like, really? He was like, yeah. I was like, how so? He was like, you do everything a wife, you know, does. Like, you cook and you clean and you help me out and you take care of the children and, like, you know, we do everything together. And I was like, but do you feel that I'm like too modern and like too outspoken? And he was like, well, that's why I loved you. I loved you because you were autonomous, because you were outgoing, because you just had such a good heart and such a great personality. Like, that's part of why I married you. Like, that made me feel really good. Here I am thinking that I'm not being a good wife, that I'm not being a good homemaker, that like I need to be submissive and I need to be quiet and I just need to do whatever he says and, you know, not even have my own thoughts or my own opinions or, you know, share my feelings or anything. And he validated me and told me that I was a good wife. I was a homemaker, and that just really did like wonders for my ego. It made me feel very, very good. And so that's what I want to tell you today. If you are a stay-at-home mom or homemaker or stay-at-home wife, or even if you work outside the home and you still have to do those things in the house, I want to let you know that there is no right or wrong. There is no they are better than I am. You can definitely make homemaking and being a stay-at-home mom or wife whatever you want it to be. In a marriage, it takes two, and it's a partnership and it's a team. And so it works very, very, very well with me and my husband. If you are a working mom, please, please, please know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And if you never get your opportunity to be a full-time homemaker, it is okay, because God will use you exactly where you're at. I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. As you can see, I am done with my laundry. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up. Please share it with another sister that you really feel needs the encouragement, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.